He kissed me like forever, but I felt him slipping away. That's the only way I can explain the start of our honeymoon. Soft kisses under the sun, hand-in-hand walks along the beach, laughter over wine. But under it all, a small, sharp tension. I told myself it was just nerves. We were newlyweds after all. Ethan was charming, attentive, romantic. He held my hand across the dinner table, brushed hair from my face, whispered, "I can't believe you're mine." My heart swelled each time. But late at night, when he thought I was asleep, his phone lit up under the sheets. I wanted to ignore it. I wanted to stay in the bubble of happiness, to keep believing that our wedding vows still echoed between us. But something inside me, something small but fierce, started watching, started noticing. On our third night, Ethan excused himself after dinner, kissing my forehead softly. "Just going down to the lobby, baby. Need to check something." With the front desk. I smiled, nodding, feeling the familiar ache of love and longing, but the minutes stretched. 30, 40, an hour. I texted him once. "Everything okay?" No reply. My stomach twisted slightly, but I told myself to breathe, to be patient, to trust. A wife like me should trust her new husband, right? I watched. The hotel door, the empty space beside me on the bed, the cold pillow where his warmth should have been. Finally, after an hour and a half, he returned, smiling faintly. Apologetic. "Sorry, babe, ran into some long line downstairs." I let out a shaky laugh, wrapping my arms around him, whispering, "I missed you." But a seed of doubt had already rooted itself deep inside. The next day, I tried to shake it off. We lounged by the pool, sipped cocktails, took smiling photos I uploaded to Instagram. Everyone commented, "You look so happy." I smiled at the screen, heart pounding. Why did something feel off? That night, after dinner, Ethan slipped away again. "Need to grab something," he murmured, brushing a kiss over my cheek. I smiled faintly, nodding, but this time my heart hammered harder. My fingers trembled slightly as I opened my phone. I hadn't meant to check his location. I really hadn't. But something drove me, a sharp, cold edge of intuition, a whispering voice that wouldn't go quiet. My thumb hovered over the screen, breath caught in my chest. And when I saw where he was, my world tilted. A wife like me should trust her new husband, right? That's what I kept whispering to myself as I stared at the tiny blue dot blinking on my screen. Ethan's location was several floors up. Not the lobby, not the restaurant, not the bar. My heart pounded so loud it hurt, and I told myself, maybe he's getting ice. Maybe he's surprising me. Maybe. I paced the hotel room, palms sweaty, breath shaky. Every logical voice in my head screamed, "Go sit down, wait, don't overreact." But the other voice, the one I'd been silencing for months, whispered sharply, "He's lying. Again." Texted him softly, "Everything okay? Where are you?" No reply. My chest tightened. My eyes flicked back to the blinking location on the map, my heart slamming against my ribs. I knew I shouldn't be doing this. I knew it wasn't trusting. But trust had cracks in it now, and they were widening fast. The minutes dragged. 15, 20, 30. I sat at the edge of the bed, hands clenched in my lap, willing myself not to cry. Ethan wasn't just my husband. He was my safe place. My best friend, my anchor. How could I even think these things about him? I called Hannah, my best friend back home, whispering into the phone. "Hannah, I think something's wrong." Her voice sharpened immediately, cutting through the fog. "Sophie, what's happening?" I told her everything in a rush. The disappearances, the excuses, the location ping. She went silent, then said softly, "Baby, I think you already know." My stomach turned. I pressed a shaking hand to my mouth, eyes filling with tears. No, he wouldn't. Not here, not now. But my voice sounded thin, unconvincing, even to myself. Hannah stayed on the line, her voice low and fierce. "Sophie, you need to know the truth, whatever it is." I wiped my face roughly, breathing hard. I looked at the screen again, watching the blue dot stay stubbornly in the same place, on a floor we'd never been to. My heart cracked open a little more. The fear wasn't just about losing Ethan. It was about losing myself. The woman who believed, the woman who trusted, the woman who was sure she'd married her forever person. I rose slowly, feet unsteady, heart hammering. My hand hovered over the door handle. Hannah's voice came through the phone softly. "Sophie, you don't have to do this alone. I'm right here," I whispered. "I just need to see." And I stepped out into the hall. He lied, and I followed. That's the moment everything snapped inside me, when I crossed from anxious wife to woman on a mission. My bare feet padded softly down the hallway, breath tight in my chest, phone clutched in my shaking hand. I watched Ethan's location inch across the screen, steady, still, fixed to one unfamiliar room number. The elevator ride felt endless. My reflection in the mirrored walls was pale, wide-eyed, trembling. I barely recognized myself. The girl, who'd married the man of her dreams just 4 days ago, the girl who'd promised forever on a beach, the girl who'd whispered, "I trust you," under twinkling lights. That girl felt like she was already gone. I thought of every kiss, every touch, every late-night promise. He told me I was his everything. He told me we were unbreakable. My throat closed up, and I squeezed my eyes shut, swallowing the sob that threatened to spill out. Not yet. The doors slid open softly, and I stepped out, heart slamming painfully in my chest. The hallway stretched long and silent, every door identical, every step echoing too loudly. My fingers hovered over the location pin again, triple-checking. Room 918. I moved slowly, each step dragging, every nerve in my body firing. My hands trembled. My breath came in short, sharp bursts. My stomach turned over, hot and sick. But still, I kept walking. I had to know. I reached the door. Room 918. My heart hammered so loud I thought I'd pass out. I raised my hand to knock, but froze when I heard it. Laughter. His laughter. And a woman's voice, soft and sweet, unmistakably familiar. My knees nearly buckled. I pressed a hand against the wall, bile rising in my throat. My mind screamed, "Walk away. You don't want to see. You don't want to know." But I was already here. There was no going back. I slid down the wall, sitting on the carpet, shaking violently. Tears blurred my vision. My fingers fumbled at my phone. Hannah's text popped up. "Where are you? What's happening?" I stared at the words, unable to type, unable to breathe. Inside the room, I heard him murmur something soft, low, intimate, the voice he used with me. And I broke. My whole body cracked open, the betrayal pouring in sharp and cold. This wasn't love. This was humiliation. This wasn't love. This was humiliation. I sat there on the carpet, knees pulled to my chest, fists clenched so tightly my nails bit into my palms. The muffled sound of Ethan's laugh floated through the door, a sound that used to make me melt. Now it burned. I wiped my face roughly, my chest aching with sharp, suffocating pain. How had I gotten here? How had I become this woman? Alone, trembling, hiding outside a hotel room on her honeymoon while her husband lay inside with someone else. My stomach twisted, hot tears spilling down my cheeks as the full weight of it crashed over me. I thought back to our wedding day, to the way Ethan had looked at me, eyes soft, voice trembling as he promised forever. He lied. He lied when he kissed, me when he held me, when he vowed to love me. My whole body shook with the force of that realization. Hannah's name popped up again on my phone. "Baby, are you okay? Where are you?" I squeezed my eyes shut, sucking in a shaky breath, my fingers hovering over the keys. I wanted to say, "I'm okay." I wanted to say, "I'm strong." But all I typed was, "He's here, with her." Her reply came in seconds. "Oh, Sophie, I'm so sorry. What do you want to do?" I stared at the message, my heart hammering. What did I want to do? Run, cry, break down, or fight? Anger began to flicker under the heartbreak, a small, hot spark pushing through the numbness. I thought of every time Ethan had dismissed my questions, every time he'd brushed me off, every time he'd gaslighted me into thinking I was crazy. He'd underestimated me. They both had. I wiped my face again, my breath steadying as the tears slowed. I wasn't going to shatter here. Not outside this door. Not like this. I deserved better. I deserved the truth. I deserved my power back. I stood up slowly, knees trembling but locked tight, hands fisting at my sides. I pressed my palm flat against the door, closing my eyes for just a second, feeling the final crack snap inside me. No more crying. No more doubting. It was time to face them. They underestimated the girl who was watching. I stood outside that hotel room, my heart pounding hard, but my breath leveling out, feeling something shift inside me. The girl who begged for answers, who clung to hope, who wanted to believe in the man she loved. She was gone now. What was left was sharp, cold, determined. I ran my fingers through my hair, straightened my dress, wiped the last wetness from my cheeks. I glanced at my reflection in the hallway mirror, eyes red but steady, shoulders squared, mouth set in a tight, unshakable line. I looked like a woman who'd made a decision. Hannah texted again. "Sophie, what are you going to do?" I smiled. Faintly, my fingers tapping back. "I'm going in." Her reply came instantly. "You're not alone. I'm right here." I pocketed my phone, exhaling slowly. My body trembled with adrenaline, but my mind was sharp, locked in. I wouldn't scream, I wouldn't collapse, I wouldn't beg. I was going to end this, on my terms. I knocked once, sharply, knuckles rapping loud and clear against the wood. For a second, the laughter inside went silent. My chest tightened. My fingers dug into my palms. Then I heard Ethan's voice, hesitant. "Who is it?" I leaned closer, my voice calm, steady, sharp. "It's your wife, Ethan." A thud inside. A soft, panicked gasp. Her voice. The doorknob rattled, but I stayed still, chin lifted, breathing through the sharp rush of pain in my chest. That was the moment everything changed. The door opened, slowly, and there he was, Ethan, pale, shirt rumpled, eyes wide, mouth half open. His gaze darted behind him, where Melanie hovered, face flushed, clutching a hotel robe tight around her. I smiled faintly. "Hi, Ethan," I murmured. "Miss me?" His mouth opened, but no sound came out. I let the silence stretch, savoring the way the power shifted, the way his control slipped, the way her eyes darted nervously between us. I tilted my head slightly, eyes glinting. "I know everything," I whispered. "Every lie, every secret, every late-night disappearance." His shoulders slumped. Her face paled. And for the first time, I felt my heart steady. because they weren't the ones in control anymore. I was. That was the moment everything changed. Standing in that doorway, I watched Ethan's face crumble. The man who had always known what to say, who had always been one step ahead of me, suddenly frozen, exposed, powerless. My chest tightened, but not with heartbreak anymore, with resolve. Melanie backed up slightly, her eyes wide, her hand trembling as she clutched the robe tighter. She opened her mouth like she wanted to speak, maybe apologize, maybe explain, but I lifted a single hand, palm facing her. "Don't," I said softly. "This isn't your moment." Ethan reached for me, his voice shaking. "Sophie, baby." I tilted my head, a slow, faint smile curling at my lips. "No," I murmured. "Don't lie. Not now. We're way past that." His face paled further, his shoulders sagging. I stepped into the room calmly, my heels clicking softly on the carpet. Every nerve in my body buzzed, every muscle ached to scream, to cry, to rage. But I didn't. I stayed cool, composed, deliberate. I just smiled, because they had no idea. I placed my wedding ring gently on the table, the metal clicking softly against the wood. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer," I said quietly, turning toward Ethan. "I won't waste one more breath on someone who wasted everything I gave him." Melanie let out a soft, choked sound, her hand flying to her mouth. I flicked my gaze to her briefly, expression unreadable, then back to Ethan. "You broke your vows before they even settled in, Ethan. You broke us before we even began." He reached for me again, tears springing to his eyes. "Sophie, please. Let me explain." I stepped back once, shaking my head. "No, Ethan. You don't get to explain. You made your choices. Now live with them." I turned slowly, walking to the door, feeling every pair of eyes locked on my back. My heart pounded, but my spine stayed straight, my chin lifted, my breath calm. The hallway air hit my face, cool and sharp, like the first breath after holding it for too long. I closed my eyes for a second, exhaling slowly, feeling the tears sting but refusing to fall. I walked away, because this wasn't a conversation, this was my exit. I just smiled, because they had no idea. No idea how long I'd been watching. No idea how many sleepless nights I'd counted. No idea how carefully I'd planned this moment. As I walked calmly down the hotel hallway, my heart pounded. But it wasn't panic. It was release. Ethan's voice echoed faintly behind the door, calling after me, his words thick, desperate, crumbling. I didn't stop. I didn't turn. For the first time in years, I let him drown in his own chaos, without rushing back to save him. He lied, and I followed. But now I was done following. Outside, the cool night wrapped around me like armor. I dialed Hannah, pressing the phone to my ear, my voice low and shaking. "I did it," I whispered. "I saw it all." I walked away. Her voice cracked on the other end, fierce and proud. "Sophie, you are so much stronger than you think." I hailed a cab, sliding into the back seat, feeling my chest ache with exhaustion and something sharp underneath. Something like triumph. My hands trembled, but I wrapped them around myself, grounding, steadying. I'd thought this night would break me, but it didn't. At the hotel, the receptionist glanced up as I passed, smiling politely. I smiled faintly back, head high, shoulders straight. Let them wonder. Let everyone wonder. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. In the elevator, I stared at my reflection, eyes red, cheeks flushed, mouth set. I looked like a woman cracked wide open, raw and shaking, but not destroyed, not shattered. They underestimated me. Back in my room, I packed my things quickly, methodically. I wasn't staying one more night in a space haunted by his betrayal. I booked my flight home, texted Hannah the details, and exhaled slowly. This wasn't how I thought my honeymoon would end, but it was how my survival began. Ethan's calls poured in, one after another, the screen lighting up over and over. I let them ring out. I let them sit unanswered, unheard. He doesn't get to reach me anymore. I sipped water, hands still trembling, mind racing, heart pounding. But under the chaos, a small, fierce voice whispered, "You walked away. You chose yourself. You didn't let him finish breaking you." As I sat on the edge of the bed, watching the city lights flicker outside, I realized something powerful. This was no longer his story. It was mine. He broke his vows. I walked away whole. That truth echoed softly in my chest as the plane lifted off the runway, the hotel lights shrinking below me, the chapter of Ethan and me officially closing. My fingers trembled slightly on the armrest, but my heart beat steadier with every mile between us. I leaned my head against the window, eyes closed, breathing in slow, shaky pulls. I thought of everything. The vows we'd exchanged under soft lights, the promises whispered in the dark, the honeymoon I'd dreamed of, and how fast it had all turned to ash. He betrayed me, but he didn't end me. Hannah picked me up at the airport, her arms wrapping tight around me, no words needed. We sat in her car for a long time, just holding hands, breathing, letting the silence settle. I felt the grief press, heavy on my chest, but under it, something lighter stirred. At home, I unpacked slowly, deliberately, reclaiming every piece of my space. I placed the ring in a box, sliding it deep into a drawer, no longer a symbol of love, just a relic of a lie. I stood in front of the mirror, studying my face, tired, pale, lined with heartbreak, but unbroken. Days passed, and the calls kept coming. Ethan's number flashed on my phone over and over, voicemails filling up, texts piling in. I didn't answer. I didn't reply. I owed him nothing. He chose his side. Now I was choosing mine. One night, I sat on the balcony, a blanket wrapped around my shoulders, staring at the stars. My chest still ached, my eyes still stung, but I realized something that made me smile, faint and bittersweet. I was still here, still breathing, still standing. The power shift wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, steady, earned moment by moment. Every time I chose myself, every time I blocked his number, every time I reached for peace instead of answers, that was my revenge. Hannah poured us wine, raising her glass gently. "To you," she murmured. I clinked mine softly against hers, whispering back, "To me." The words felt strange on my tongue, but also right, also true. Ethan broke his vows. He shattered the promises we'd built a life on. But he didn't. Take me down with him, I walked away. And for the first time in months, I smiled.